Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Developer Waypoints. Nick, how you doing? What's
I
going
am
on?
doing good over here. I'm excited for another episode on frameworks.
Yeah. In case you're wondering, this is episode 2 of season 2. We just started frameworks, our season on frameworks, 2 weeks ago, and this is the part 2 of our Angular episodes. So we're just doing two episodes on Angular, and this is part 2. In case you're wondering, Waypoints is a live coding series where we progressively build something over a season of episodes. So that's what we're doing in case you're new here. So we are live, and that's why I'm messing up while I'm talking right now. So if you're in chat, welcome. Thank you for coming. Go ahead and say hi if you're logged in. If not, you can just watch us and be a spectator. Nick, what's going on? What's your deal?
So I'm doing good over here. The deal is so this particular episode is going to be on geocoding with Angular.
Yep.
So if you happen to have seen season 1, we had a whole episode on geocoding in just vanilla JavaScript. But this time around, we're gonna do slightly different things. Change the use case up a bit, but also have an emphasis on Angular instead of just vanilla JavaScript.
Mm-hmm. A little more spicier this
A little bit,
version.
you could say it. Sure, we like spicy.
Yeah, I like spicy. Yeah. So since we're live, I'm not sure if we actually do have mods in chat. I see Lola Hands in chat right now. She's a friend of the show. So if you have any questions, I don't know, maybe she can answer them. Peter, I am going to be posting in chat. I'll be the actual HereDev account, so that'll be me talking, and I'll be there. Lalahan says I will do my best. I'll be posting links. I'll be getting our bot to share links for me. So if you see me lean over here typing, and I'm posting stuff into chat, so Nick will be bugging me to share links with you, to link to things that he's working on. What else? I think that's about it.
Yeah, why don't we throw down some links right now?
Sure.
How's that sound?
Do it. Yeah. Test me.
Yes. So just for the people who are new and refresher for people who have been here before. After the end of every episode, we do throw our project up on GitHub. So you could always see exactly what we accomplished in that particular episode. Peter, can you throw that GitHub link up on the screen?
I already did it. It's there.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're actually in the developer waypoints directory, and we're in season 2. And right now there's only episode 1. But by the end of this episode, we're going to have an episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just follow along. So just clone the whole project. It's not very large, and you should be able to get up to speed pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're watching this post live, this will all be ready for you to dive in and explore as you go. Any other links to test me with, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, maybe the developer portal, because this is going to be a huge asset when it comes to what we accomplished in this particular video.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we will be using our developer tokens, which are part of our freemium account. So they will be necessary when using the JavaScript SDK or the REST APIs, which we'll be exploring.
Yep. And you will need an account to actually follow along and build with us. But I expect all of you already do, since it's free.
Yeah, it's free. You don't have to provide a credit card. It's pretty easy to get started, pretty quick.
All right. What else? What else you got? Is that it?
I think that's it. Actually, I'll throw one more at you here. So let me go back into my code editor here. Because we are using frameworks. Frameworks do have a lot of dependencies in them. I do want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as the version of Angular that we're using. So actually,
you want to share your screen right now?
Yeah, I thought we were already sharing screen. Let's go.
No, we have the big heads version with our names in the beginning, Nick. Okay, you ready? You want me to share your screen?
Throw that screen up, man.
All right.
So I did. I'll run the command again. So I'll say ng - version because I do have the Angular CLI installed. I'm using version 8.0.2 of Angular. Not to say that an earlier version might not work for you or a newer version. I'm just saying that there could be minor differences depending on when you hop onto this video. Does that make sense, Peter?
Yeah, just for reference, just in case.
Yeah, just for reference, so that way you know what you're getting yourself into. So if you come back 2 years from now, it probably won't work 2 years from now. Things will have changed, but at least you'll know right away that, hey, your version doesn't match. Right?
Okay. Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to get out of the way before we get into things, Peter?
I don't think so. I think I don't know what else.
It's totally up to you. I mean, we could jump into the material, or you could always stop me.
Yeah, I'll just a friendly reminder that you can just jump into chat, tell us what's up, ask any questions, give any suggestions. Nick is going to try to stump me, but I don't really know anything, so I'm probably going to get stumped.
I'll wait for Peter to fight back.
I've been slowly just teaching myself Angular for the past couple weeks, so I'm an expert, obviously.
Did you want to throw out a mention about our status on Twitch?
I have touched on it a few times, but we are affiliates now. There is a little button up above our stream that allows you to subscribe to our channel, and any revenue, which is nothing so far, we'll be donating to CARE, which is an international relief fund. But there is an ability now to subscribe and donate with bits through Twitch. So if you want to do that, I'll keep an eye on if anybody ever does that, and I'll call you out on stream if you do it. And also same for anybody who follows us on stream. I'll call you out if you. I mean, I'm sure you want to, so we can give you props and virtual high fives.
Yeah, right. and those call outs will exist on our YouTube channel as well, right? Because all of our episodes show up there afterwards.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's it for me, Nick.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. So I already do have my editor open. I've already cloned my project from prior. What I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate into the actual developer Waypoints directory, and I'm going to navigate into season 2. And because we're going to be using kind of exactly where we left off in the previous episode, I'm just going to go ahead and copy that directory, and I'm going to copy episode 1, and I'm going to make it into an episode 2. I am going to navigate into episode 2. Whoops. And what I'm going to do is, because before I did a git push previously, I didn't include the node modules, which are part of our framework. So I'm going to reinstall them. So I'm going to say npm install. So that's what that's doing is it's getting the node modules that are listed in the package.json project or file of our project. There's a extensive list of them. You could easily have done, if you wanted to start from scratch, you could have just used the Angular CLI to do an ng new and then the project name. But we're just starting off where we left off, and this is helpful if you're cloning this from GitHub and you don't want to jump through a lot of hoops.
Okay.
So it looks like it finished. What we are going to do is I'm gonna do an ng serve, and we're going to kind of see where we left off in the previous episode, and then work our way into what we want to accomplish on the next episode. So I'm going to say ng serve. Should start serving it on port 4200 when it's done.
How do you know that?
Because that is what the Angular CLI uses. It's a prototyping server. It's not a production server. You would build it differently otherwise. And then, as you can see, Peter, right here, localhost 4200.
Beautiful. If you pull the terminal window a little bigger, our faces are covering that part, so I can't actually see what you're trying to put in it.
Ah, good call. So that probably didn't change anything at all. Just take my word on it. Yeah, it kind of stuck. That's fine.
I think you can see it. It's like behind me. Okay.
All right. I'll go to my web browser now. We will need to enter our tokens in just a second. It showed a map. It kind of did this halfy kind of look here. Remember how we were playing around with, well, if we have a component now, can we use 2 different kind of interactive maps? And the answer was yes, we could.
We were experimenting.
We were, and it works. So we have
And
a
it went
line.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a polyline. We have some markers on one of them. The second map, I don't think we added anything to it, but I could totally be wrong. I don't remember
I
honestly.
don't think so.
So what we want to do though is we want to add our tokens so that way we can actually make use of the other services that here offers. So I'm going to copy my app ID. I'm going to actually go into my source directory, the app directory, and then we have it in the app component HTML. And I'm just going to paste it in two places for now. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to get my app code.
It's in two places because that's the two maps we're rendering, right?
Yeah, because we're doing some chaos here. But we're gonna use one map going forward. So we're back to where we started. I noticed that it says episode 1 in the header there. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust that real quick so that way it avoids some confusion. Say episode 2, I did that in the index.html file. Doesn't really help or hurt us for this because it's just a rename.
Just for reference. That's helpful. Thank you, Nick. Good eyes.
Good eyes. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna remove this one. And I think didn't we do something with the height as well?
We did 50. What was Babs D's?
Yeah, let's go back into the actual component that we did for Angular. I think we did this in the HTML file.
It was V8.
And,
yeah, V8 just do 100.
We wanted to do 100. So just for clarity, we created an Angular component in the previous stream video. So this Angular component was for a here map with some here services, and that allowed us to have now a reusable product throughout our application. So I save it. Now we're at a full screen map, and we're at a kind of good starting point for this episode, which is actually going to be geocoding. So I'm going to let Peter explain what geocoding is. Oh put him on the spot.
Okay, geocoding is a service, an API that we call, that allows us to return. Is it?
It's all right. So I'll jump in and help you out. So the geocoder that here offers is
long.
It's broken up into two parts. So
I always confuse geocoder and reverse geocoder.
Yeah, so we do have two services. We have the reverse geocoder and the standard geocoder. So the normal geocoder will take an address, and it will either, for one, validate that address. You can use it as that, or you could just get the latitude and longitude, like you were kind of hinting at, right, Peter?
Yep.
So, for example, these markers, as we saw in our code, which was actually inside of our app component TS file, I believe, we defined the actual marker positions. But I, for one, will never remember an exact latitude and longitude coordinate for a particular position, like, for example, my address. Would you, Peter?
No. I had a slight memorization for trying to get Seattle, and I was trying to remember it. I only know it now because it's on the screen.
we were pretty off, right? Didn't we end up in, like, Canada?
No. I think I was wrong by one digit, and then it put us over in, like, Bellevue or something.
Yeah, so the geocoder will make it easy because then we can just provide an address, something that we're pretty much trained to remember, and get a latitude and longitude coordinate for us. That's the geocoder. So any ideas what that reverse geocoder is, Peter?
It's the other way around, Nick. Right?
Yeah.
You
so
can
if you
search
go on,
something.
I'll let you explain it.
No, wait. Wait, is that reverse? Is just you have a lat long and it gives you the actual address, right?
Gives you an estimate.
Yeah.
So if you provide a latitude and longitude coordinate that's kind of in the middle of an address somewhere, it's going to provide you several addresses that of what it could be, right? So and then you have to define your own business logic on, well, what makes the most sense, right?
Yep. And that was helpful with the last project of interacting with the map and trying to to click on it and determine what address that was, right?
Yeah, so in a previous example, in season 1, we actually explored clicking on the map, and we extracted the latitude and longitude coordinates from the clicks, and we converted those into actual addresses on where we were clicking, which was pretty cool. And there's other use cases, which we're going to see in this example, that are totally different from what we saw in last season. So stuff that I think is pretty cool. But what we're going to do is we're going to just start with a basic geocoder. That's definitely not going to be the emphasis of this particular live stream. The emphasis is going to be what comes after. But it'll kind of familiarize yourself with using the geocoder with Angular. How's that sound, Peter?
Sounds great.
All right, so we're gonna extend our component a little bit. So we're not going to worry about the app component TS yet, or the app component HTML. We're going to spend most of our time back in the here map component that we had created custom prior. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another function inside of this file. So you can see we already have drop marker, draw a line, just kind of functions to interact with that map or anything that we're doing with the here platform. So what I might want to do is I might want to say public. I might want to say geocode address, and I may want to provide a search query. That search query being our address, right? So I'll say query, this will be a string, and then we'll do a whole lot of good logic inside of that function. But before we can actually use the geocoder with here, we do have to initialize it. We should probably do that either inside of the ng on init or after the view init. But for this, because it doesn't rely on any kind of graphical dependencies, we can do the ng on init. I can say, let's go ahead and create a variable for us actually here. We'll create a variable. I'll add it back at the top here. It doesn't really matter the order, but I'm going to call it private. I'm going to call it geocoding service. Call it any, because there are no TypeScript definitions as of yet, no official TypeScript definitions to handle that for us. But we're going to say this.geocoding service equals this.platform.get geocoding service. So with this, now we can actually make use of the geocoder and reverse geocoder using the here JavaScript SDK. So let's go ahead and see what that would look like.
So you get both from one call, right?
Not from one call. So the geocoding service has two different functions in it. So for example, we would say this dot geocoding, not geocode address, geocoding service dot geocode, and that will geocode in one direction, right? Address. If we wanted to, we can say reverse, and I can't seem to spell it correctly today.
Reverse?
Did I spell that wrong again?
No, you did. You did. You did it right.
You're making me double check. So
Just
there's
scaring
also reverse geocode, and the setup is kind of similar, but there are some differences as well.
Okay.
But we're going to focus on just geocoding. It's not going to have too much of a use case for this particular video. The next one is going to be more cool, I would say. But this is still very important, especially when it comes to maybe.
This is cool too, man.
This is cool too?
Yeah.
It is cool. It's not cool for this example, though, right?
Okay.
Let's go ahead and, I don't know. It's cool. It's cool. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah. Roberto Dev is commenting on your good memory, Nick, from when you're writing out your call earlier. I only wear Lacoste, says Angular, with his hands on his head emote. I don't know if that's he doesn't like Angular or it's confusing.
Well, that's all right. If you're not into Angular, we're going to be exploring other frameworks in the next videos of the season. So Vue and then probably React as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your full mix of what's relevant in the web framework world.
You get some exposure, yeah.
All right. So the geocode is going to have a set of options. I'll actually drop this down to a line so that way I'm trying real hard to remember to make it look clean when I'm typing, so that way it's not halfway off the screen. So we'll drop that to its own line. It has options, an options object. We have a success callback. Oops. We have an error callback. I don't know why it's yelling
What?
at me. I'll figure it out in a second. Oh, I know why.
It's
I'm I
oh,
got I got some sand brain today
yep.
going on, so it happens.
It's okay.
All right, so we have options. So the options for the geocode, one of the options is probably the one that you'll probably use the most. Is you'll have search text, and search text will go ahead and use that query that we passed in.
Mm-hmm.
So query being that. And to get us started, what we want to do is let's just say console.log. We'll just print out the entire success object. Otherwise, we'll just print out the entire error object, just to kind of get us started. And we're not actually using this yet. So you saw that it reloaded. If I try to run it, nothing happens because we've not actually called it.
Yep.
If I go back into the app component TS file, where I'm actually making use of different functions inside of our component, we can add to it. This time, maybe I'll say this dot. I don't even remember what I just called it. Geocode address. You got an address for me, Peter? Where do you live?
I'm gonna give. I'm not gonna dox myself. What are you,
No?
crazy?
You want to give me some credit card information too?
Yeah. Let me give you my mother's maiden name too.
Yeah, all right. I'll just say Seattle, Washington, right? And see what that provides us.
Do it.
So this is we just have it print out. So it's yelling at us because I didn't say this dot map element.
Mm. Oh, I only wear Lacoste is commenting on why some map libraries take coordinates in lat long and others in ling lat format. Take half the time is spent reversing arrays.
Yeah. So I mean, this is an object, so it doesn't really matter which order you place this in. If I wanted to, I could say longitude first. I know that some mapping libraries, they call this like LON instead of LNG. Sometimes they spell it out completely. I don't know if there's I mean, if you start working with GeoJSON, which is a specific mapping format, there are strict requirements. But as far as the mapping SDKs go that you might see, like Leaflet, some of the others, I don't think there is a standard. It's just the way that here does it for this one.
So you can pass it in either order. It can be lat second. Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's. I mean,
well, there you go, Lacoste.
Negative 122. What was the other number? 47.6. Yeah, because this is an object. If this was an array, then the order would matter. But it doesn't matter in this circumstance. So I'll save it. We'll go back into our map here. I'll refresh it. I'll go to my developer console. It returned us an object. We have a response. I'll zoom in actually as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that and I'll scroll up. Is that more visible, Peter?
Yep. I think you can do like one more zoom.
One more. All right. Better?
Yeah. Chat, let me know if that's still too small, but
Yeah,
it looks
please let
good
us
to me.
know. Awesome. So we do have a response based on our Seattle, Washington, USA. It returns a lot of good stuff. You'll see that the result is where we start getting into the details that matter to us. You'll see that result is an array because you'll notice in my code, I provided a relatively vague address. I mean, chances are you're only going to find one Seattle, Washington, USA. But if I started providing something like Seattle, well, maybe there's a Seattle in another country, or maybe there's a city called Seattle, or maybe there's some other interpretation of Seattle. And in that circumstance, you might end up with more results because the geocoder is going to let you pick. It's also going to provide a match quality. So one being it's a perfect match. So you could also gauge. You can use that when applying your business logic to see which result is best suited for you. Does that make sense, Peter?
Yeah. So the match quality of 1, that means like that entire word is match 1-to-1. Is that what it means?
Yeah. So you have a value between 0 and 1.
Okay.
So you have decimals.
Oh, okay.
So
It's
if
like
I provided
a 1 or a 0?
yeah, if I provided a postal code for a particular specific address with street and house number, if I provided a postal code that wasn't quite accurate, it was still in the general area, but it wasn't the exact postal code for that particular address,
Mhm.
it might say like 0.5
Yeah.
because you know what, it could be a match, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, but it's not a perfect match.
Mhm. Okay.
And that's just one example of many on where this match quality stuff might come into play.
And
Does
does
that
it
make
also
sense?
yeah, that makes sense. Does it also matter what order that you type in? Like does it have to be city, comma, state, and then country? Or does that matter?
I honestly do not know. You want to try it?
Do it. Break it.
All right. So what do we want to? We want to do some craziness here. We want to say USA, Seattle, like that.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I don't know if it'll work. Let's try it. Doesn't hurt. We have a response. We have a result. Um, it's still providing us a location. It looks like it was still able to detect it.
Oh, all right.
So I would use that with caution when you're providing random lists like that, especially when it comes down to your I guess your street addresses and your house numbers, because you definitely don't want to confuse it and say, hey, that should be a postal code, not a house number, right?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
It'll probably be smart to a certain extent. So we do have data back. It was able to fill in the gaps. It also found, based on this particular result, it gave me a county. It would have given me other stuff had I provided a more specific query to choose from.
Mhm.
But it did provide me a display position, a latitude and longitude, based on what we provided. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. So we have that. Now let's go ahead and go into, I guess, the more cool aspect is
Real-
what I'm shooting for.
Real
Oh,
quick,
go
I
on.
think before we move off this page, Roberto Dev is saying the service that manages a la translation for a city. So with the local language or international language, for example, in Italy of Roma, and in English it's Rome. How about that?
We
I
can
think
try it.
didn't in our Alexa stream wasn't Palermo talking about
Yeah, but he was talking. So in AWS Connections, which is a separate show that we run, Palermo was actually discussing how Amazon interprets international cities versus United States cities. So that wasn't a here thing; that was an Amazon thing. But we can certainly test it. So,
Yeah.
what do we want to say? Rome versus Roma,
yeah.
and see what we get. We can try it both ways real quick, and then move on to the next subject. So that's Rome, Italy. We do still have a response. So this case, it found a location, and it converted for us. So
Wow.
I guess we probably don't even need to type in the Roma version
Yeah.
for this. But
So it
it
returns the actual localized version, right?
looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, news to me. I mean, this is not something that I've heavily experimented with, as you saw with reversing all of the different properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it works.
Hey, cool. There you go.
Was that all, Roberto? Was
I
there
think
anything
so.
else going on?
He says it is correct.
All right, perfect.
He
So
says thank you. Good work, Nick.
yeah, no problem. If anyone in the chat who's watching this live has any questions, just stop us.
Yep.
We're here to help.
Yep. And we're here to experiment too, because I mean, obviously, I don't know anything, and Nick's also learning too. Still, we're all
Yeah,
learning.
The here services are so extensive that I only know even a fraction of what's offered. So we're always learning something new.
Yep.
All right, so this next subject that I wanted to talk about, so reverse geocoding. Reverse geocoding, the thing that came to your mind. What was the use case that came to your mind, Peter, on reverse geocode? What did we do last time?
Clicking on a map and getting a marker there, getting an address.
Yeah, so you could use it for that. It'd be valid for certain scenarios. One thing that I'd like to give a shout out to is, so someone on my team, his name is Richard Susselback. He did a tutorial on the blog, and Peter can throw up a link in the chat.
Oh yeah.
He did this tutorial with the reverse geocoder using just vanilla JavaScript and the REST APIs, that when you click on a certain region, it's able to determine that entire region. So in this case, he's doing a search based on country. So he clicks on a particular country, and it provides us the polygon shape for that region, and we're able to fill it in, which could be useful in certain circumstances. So maybe you want to narrow it down rather than country. Maybe you want to narrow it down for postal codes. Maybe you're doing something with your city in the United States. Maybe you're a mail service, and you want to kind of section off your postal worker service between postal codes. I don't know what the use cases would be. I'm sure there's certainly a lot, right, Peter?
There's a lot. There's plenty. But shout out to Richard for this blog post. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, shout out to Richard. It's on the blog. What we're going to do is we're going to replicate this.
Link is in chat.
Perfect. We're going to replicate this for Angular, and we're going to put our own kind of spin on it as well. But it is going to be heavily inspired to what Richard did. And I personally think this is a very cool use case. He's obviously doing it based on clicks, but it doesn't have to be clicks. You can highlight several regions, maybe different colors. It totally depends on what you're after. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish.
Cool.
So I'm going back into my here map component. This is where we're going to get down to business. I'm going to ignore the fact that we just did a geocode address. We're gonna do something else. Because we're basing it off of clicks, we probably need to determine, well, what's the latitude and longitude of any given click? Because if I click on my map, this is a pixel. This is a flat map. This is in our web browser. It's flat. It's not going to be an accurate representation of a latitude and longitude when we click on this map. So we need to figure out how to convert pixels to geocoordinates. That's going to be our first step, because then we can take those geocoordinates and actually reverse geocode. So we're going to create a function. I'm going to call it maybe public get position at, and I'm going to provide it maybe an x, that could be a number, and a y, that could also be a number. And our goal here is to return the latitude and longitude. So if you'll remember from a previous live stream from previous season, you might remember the screen to geo function, which actually did that translation for us. So I can say return, I can say this dot map, because that's our private variable inside of this here map component, and I can say dot screen to geo, and I can provide it the x, and I can provide it the y. So again, the map here, I declared it up top here as a private variable on line 13. We initialized it inside of our ng after view init, and we're making use of it. And the reason why we're not doing it inside of our app component is because our app component doesn't have access to this private variable. So we're letting our component itself handle all of the interaction. So if we wanted to now, we have our get position at. I can go into the app.typescript file, and I can try to make use of it. So what we want to do is we want to create a method. So we're going to say public, maybe let's say maybe map click event or map click. And when somebody clicks on it, we can call it. So this is going to have an event, and we can say this dot map element, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. Map element dot get position at, and I can say actually, let's just comment this out. I'm just going to say console.log event.
Okay.
And how do we get to this point? Well, we can actually create we can actually use it in a variable in our HTML. So we know it's called map click. We're inside of our app component.typescript file. We need to go into our HTML file, app component.html. What I can do is inside of parentheses, I can say click. So for a click event, and when we actually click on it, then we're going to call that function, map click.
Okay.
And we're going to provide an Angular event variable for that. So Angular itself is going to populate this variable, which we can then access inside of our map click function.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So if I go back into my code, hopefully there's no errors here. I'm going to click. It detected my mouse event. The mouse event has a lot of information for us. But what we're interested in is the client X and the client Y. The other way, as we demonstrated in season 1, is you can actually set listeners on the map itself using what's available in the JavaScript SDK. It would be like map.addEventListener. But since we're doing it kind of the Angular way, it kind of makes sense to do things in Angular, right, Peter?
It makes sense. Keep it Angular.
Yeah, keep it Angular. So we're going to get the client X and the client Y. I'm going to go back into my code here. I'm going to go back into the TypeScript file. And what I'm going to do is let's comment this out. I don't think I need this log event anymore. We know what we're after.
Yep.
We're going to say event.clientX, event.clientY. And we can actually say, let's go ahead and say constant position equals that. And maybe this time around we say console.log position. And I'm going to print it out. So I'm going to print out, we're not printing out the X and Y of that flat pixel map. We're actually getting the latitude and longitude.
Wow.
So let's give it a try. So I'm going to click here. And you can see that it gave us an actual latitude and longitude now, right?
It works.
So this is our first step. That's our first step. Now we have something that we can base it off of and actually start the geocode, the reverse geocode process. Is there any questions popping up in the chat as of yet, Peter?
Not yet. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But if there are questions,
don't let us stop you. Nothing's ever self-explanatory. It's always good to have questions.
Oh wait, only where cost says, do we have our own mapping library like Mapbox, GL, Maptalks, Leaflet, etc., or just APIs?
No. So actually, from the previous episode, let me find this file. So I actually did include the JavaScript SDK. It uses by default our here renderer. So for our interactive map APIs, if you wanted to, you could use Leaflet and just kind of consume our map tiles. It's totally up to you what you want to use. Maybe you don't want to use Leaflet either. Maybe you want to use Tangram or something else. You can still use our services with all of these other libraries. Mm-hmm. But I'm just using the vanilla here service right now.
Yep. And in our last season, you actually did an episode using Leaflet for.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look on our channel, if you scroll down, there's a developer waypoint section, so you can see season 1 was when we were just using JavaScript. So within season, you'll go to it and you'll get to the first episode, and you can look in the playlist. You can find the Leaflet one if you have more interest in Leaflet. But yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that all the question?
Yeah, you looked at me like I said something.
No, I'm just making goofy faces at you.
Okay, perfect. Sounds about right.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so
good question.
Yeah, it was a good question. So we have this information. We have this position at. Let's go back into our here map component. Let's go ahead and create another function. I'm going to call this highlight region because the goal of this is to take a latitude and longitude and then highlight a region on the map. So I'm going to say public, say highlight region. I'm going to provide a position. This is just going to be that position object, so latitude and longitude. With that, what we can do is now we can make use of the geocoding service again. So we can say this dot geocoding service dot reverse geocode. Just like with the geocoder that we just saw, it has a configuration object, and it has a success, and it has an error. So let's start with the actual options, right? So if I go to my web browser, we actually do have it. It's part of our documentation, just like with the other geocoder that I probably should have shown. This is our reverse geocoder. This page in particular inside the documentation has all of the possible options that you can use. We're definitely not going to be using all of these. There's quite a few. But we're going to be using a few, especially additional data, which is going to be useful when it comes to getting our shapes. So let's go back into
Let me
our
share
project.
the geocoder.
I don't think I gave you a link to that, did I?
I'm trying to find it myself.
Sure. That way to be proactive here.
It's just within the geocoding.
Yeah, so I'll actually show how to get there right now then.
All right, do it. Help
or
me.
Yeah, so I went to the documentation and I clicked on geocoding.
Okay, I'm there.
As soon as it loads. The next step, even though that we are using the JavaScript SDK, the RESTful API is still kind of what's used underneath the hood. And it's going to be useful when getting our actual options. It's possible those options are inside the JavaScript SDK portion, but I've always found it easier just to use the REST little link there.
Okay.
After I click on that REST link, I went to API reference. And then I scrolled down to reverse geocode resource.
Gotcha.
And that's where I found all of this extra information for the reverse geocoder.
All right, I will share that link in chat.
Yeah. And those are just for the options.
Yeah, just for calling. That's just for looking up the actual things to call, right?
Yeah. In JavaScript though, you would just use the reverse geocoder function, and then you would just use the same options that you would in the REST API.
Have Lacoste is talking about map talks. Have you ever used map talks?
I have honestly never even heard of map talks. Maybe he wants to share some information on it inside of the chat.
Yeah. It's a building 2D and 3D maps. It's an open source.
Yeah. So if you want to build 3D maps, we do have an open source project that we just released. It's called HarpGL.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Babsd do that?
Babsd did do that.
Did like a blog post on it?
To it. Yeah. There's a blog post. I think it's the first blog on our blog right now. I'll go ahead and take a quick break to head over there. We've got some time. Blog HarpGL. So it's pretty neat. I haven't personally played around with it yet, but
it's new, right? Like just
as far as I know, yeah. So you could do some pretty intense things with. I think it uses WebGL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have all the details on it. This is not something I.
Yeah, I don't either. We'll have to have Babsd come on and demo it.
I'm sure he'll like that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So.
All right. Back to work.
Let's go back to work. Options. So first of all, we have a mode. We need to figure out the mode we want to say. We want to retrieve addresses. This is straight from that documentation. We want to say that our max results. We only want one result. Remember, it's going to provide an estimate. So if I'm in like a four-way intersection there, kind of in the middle of 10 different addresses, it's going to return whatever it finds, but we're going to limit it to one. And we're going to trust that's the best result for us. Because the goal here, we're not looking for addresses for this example. We want to just highlight regions. We also want to say what our proximity is. So what's the position? This is a comma delimited latitude and longitude, and this comes from our position up here. So what we can say is we can say position dot lat, and then position dot long. So that comes in from our click event. If we wanted to, we could run this as is right now. It'll give us addresses, but it won't give us the shape information that we need for highlighting. To do that, we need to add additional data. And for the additional data, and I'll actually click on it in the API here. I can click on this, open up a new tab for me.
Oh, it's called literally additional data.
It is.
Okay.
So we have additional data options. What we're looking for is include shape level, and you can see what kind of shapes it can return. So Richard did country. I think I'm going to just narrow it down to state for different United States. But you have options, and then there's of course different additional data options that you have as well.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not It's already a predefined system to be able to draw
Yeah,
a shape around a.
yeah. Like I said, these services that here offers are pretty rich in what they can do. And look at this long list. I couldn't even tell you what half of these do. So yeah, definitely. I don't think there's any way to know everything, but they're definitely cool. So what we want to do is we want to say include shape level, and we want to specify state for this example. So I'm going to save it. We're going to do.
Do you need a space after that comma, or is that fine?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
We're just going to print it out like we always do to start, just to debug our information here. Otherwise, we're gonna spit out an error. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back into this. I'm going to click. It's not going to do anything because I actually forgot to hook it up. So we'll go back into app component TS. We have our position now. Let's go ahead and say this.map element dot highlight region, and I'm going to provide a position. And we probably don't need to print out the position anymore.
Yep.
So I'm going to save it. It's going to refresh. I'm going to click. I got a new response here. And we don't need the meta information. We need
What we
the
wrote.
result. Yeah, there's a lot of information here. I find what's most relevant to us is probably inside the result. So we have the match quality, we have location, and we have now shape. So shape is what we'd get since we added that additional data field.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, based on where I clicked, somewhere here, right?
Doggies.
Yeah, I wonder where those dogs are, right? A lot of feral animals around in this office. Anyways, so we have the shape. And this is a WKT, so well-known text format. This is an actual format specification. We need to convert this into something that we could use for a polygon shape, which actually isn't difficult to do inside of our project. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go back into here map component, and we're going to spend all of our time now inside of this success callback. So the first step is let's I guess fine tune what our data is. We want to get to location, so we have response, view, result, and then location. So let's remember that. So we can say maybe location equals success, response, view was an array. We'll just get the first one. And then result, we can call this locations. And then let's go ahead and get that shape information. We'll say constant. We'll say shape equals locations dot. Actually, we're getting the first location because result was an array as well, and we were only ever returning one result back.
Yep.
We're going to say location dot shape dot value. I think we can always look back. Yeah, value.
Yep.
We're going to verify this because I probably have typos everywhere.
Lacoste says it's against Twitch terms of service not to show the dog.
Not to show what?
Not to show the dog.
The dog. Oh, all right.
What kind of doggy you got?
A little yappy dog.
Didn't sound like a bigger dog bark than a yappy dog.
It's a mix. It's a shelter dog, a mutt.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and comment this out on line 104. Let's go ahead and try to run it again. Let's hope that the shape information is there if I didn't make any typos along the way. I click, and I have all this nice polygon information for the shape. So let's go ahead and go back into Visual Studio Code. Now we want to start showing it, I guess. Or actually, you know what? Let's go back here. I want to explain some things. Let's zoom out of this map a bit. All right. Oh, that's too far. My mouse is spazzing out. All right. So when we click on things, there's our goal is to get that shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for the mainland United States, we're gonna get one shape, one polygon.
Mhm.
But we also have to worry about the circumstances where maybe there's islands or extras. Like what if I went out here into the ocean and clicked on Hawaii, right? There's
Yep.
several islands.
Or Alaska or something.
Yeah, or Alaska. One particular polygon isn't going to cut it. You don't want it to encompass the whole thing. It won't be accurate. So we need to determine what is if our results are multi-polygon or just a single. And we can do that with an if statement. The here SDK does offer all the features we need to be successful with that. So what we can do is, first of all, we need to convert the WKT, well-known text format, into a geometry.
So it already knows that it's going to return you 2 separate polygons. You just have to ask it.
We need to parse it. It's
Okay.
going to return us something. We need to figure out what exactly it returned us.
Okay. Cool.
So we're going to say geometry. We're going to say h.util.wkt, well-known text, and we're going to say.
I blew it and I didn't give you a time check at 30 minutes in. So
We're almost done.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We're
going a little
10
over.
minutes left. We might go a little over, but
So we have the geometry. Now we need to figure out if that geometry is multi-polygon or not. We can just do an if statement. We're going to say if geometry. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I spelled that right. If geometry is this is a JavaScript command instance of h.geo.multi-geometry. Then do one thing. Otherwise, it's just a single geometry, and we can do another thing. So if it's single, let's start with single. Single, we have what we need. We can just say this dot what is it? This dot map dot add object. We can create a new polygon out of it. Polygon has opportunity for style information. It also has information, the geometry information. And it's not just polygon, it's h.map.polygon. So we can say geometry dot get exterior. So that's the function that we want. And I misspelled it. So that should be the most basic example of what we want, provided that whatever we click is not multi-polygon. So let's zoom out so that way I don't have a mouse spasm again here. Where is my zoom level? Oh, zoom is defined inside the HTML. Let's go ahead and set the zoom to maybe 5. And if I click on maybe Wyoming, so you see what it did there. Let's try North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
See how it's obviously not clearing what we had previously because I didn't add any code to clear the map.
Yeah.
But you're getting an idea. Did I click on Washington correctly? Washington might be one of those circumstances where it has multiples.
Yeah.
So let's
Lots of islands.
Yeah. So that's working so far.
Okay. So
Luckily
it just
for
doesn't
us-
return it if it can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
So what we're doing here is it kind of just goes into a black hole down here because I don't have any kind of logic in place. And the
Okay.
logic that we want is we just want to loop through it. So we can just say something like for let I equals 0, I less than what do we want? Geometry dot get geometries. And then I++. We could do a for each loop if we wanted to. So we can pick and pull what we want.
Okay. Do you do the same get exterior, or is this a different call?
No, we actually we will be, yes. Let's make it a little easier on us. Let's go ahead and say constant. Let's go say geometry array equals. We'll move this up here.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm being told that we lost sound. Okay.
Do we have sound back?
I think so. Testing.
Testing.
You hear me?
Thumbs up?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for
so
the warning.
I just pulled this out, and what we can actually say is we want this geometry And I can't spell. That never looks right when I spell it. I don't know why. Geometry away dot length. And in this circumstance, we can say this dot map dot add object new h dot map dot polygon. And you said it already, so it's in this circumstance we would say geometry array. We would say I because that's the current loop iteration, and we would say get exterior. That should do it for us. I saved it. Let's go ahead and try Washington again. And you see it work this time.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll all work this time.
Nice. So if you zoom in, does it draw all the way around? Okay. It just gets the large area, so it kind of pools it into one polygon.
I think so. Yeah, because I think that it bases it off maybe state lines. Maybe I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that one. It's doing something. If I click over here, wherever Hawaii might be, it does some weird stuff too. Anyone know where Hawaii is?
You got to go further south.
There we go. It's doing errors because I'm clicking on things that it has. Yeah. It's really not anything. See how it did that?
It at least drew it out. So it must be drawing boundaries too around. Because I'm pretty sure if the border of like the top of the Puget Sound is like Canadian waters.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit of magic there. I mean, that's really it. I mean, if I wanted to, I could add some code to clear the map, but it's not really necessary to prove our point for this example. The point was that hey, we can get boundaries for regions just by using a reverse geocode or something that, to me, when I first learned about it, I didn't even know that that was such a thing. Why would the geocoder do that? But it makes perfect sense.
Why wouldn't the geocoder do that?
I guess exactly right.
Cool.
So yeah, that's all the material I have for this. Like everything that we did in season 1, it can easily translate over to Angular. And if you are just coming in through this video, definitely take a look at the previous episode, which was getting started to fill in the gaps for Angular. But yeah, I mean, anything else on your end, Peter, that you want to share?
Lacoste is asking, shouldn't the add object method support geometry collections out of the box?
It's possible. Well, no. Actually, the add object, because we got to create a polygon first, and I don't think we're creating one polygon per geometry. I mean, it could be a feature request. I mean, maybe it would make sense to do that if you wanted to. We could open up a feature request for you.
It says would be easier to use.
It would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if. I guess we'd have to consider all of the use cases on if that makes the most sense. I guess it certainly would be easier to use. We could bring it up. Good call.
Good question. Good work, Nick.
Yeah. So let me just work on committing this to GitHub here, and then maybe you want to close out, Peter.
Yeah. So let me. I'll repost the GitHub link. In case you want to go back and trudge through Nick's code and mess with things and try to get it working for yourself. To wrap things up, this episode will be available on Twitch as a past broadcast for 2 weeks. But after 1 week, it'll be uploaded to YouTube to our playlist. And if I add... Oh, no. Did I not add a YouTube? Did I? I don't think it's there. Wait. Different page. Yeah. It will be added to our YouTube playlist. I did not. Oh man, I'm blowing it. There we go. In that playlist, you'll find our other series, and you'll find our previous Waypoints season. And so after about a week, this episode will go up there. I am a little behind on last episode. The episode 1's not on YouTube yet because I took some time off last week, but it should be up this week. If you still have questions after watching us live or watching us after the fact, you can join our Slack community there. We'll be hanging out there. If you have any questions, we can answer them there too. And I want to call out Only Wear Lacoste and Roberto Dev. Thank you for asking your questions. It was made for an exciting episode to dive into some extra things that we weren't planning on. So
yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate both of you for participating. We're also on Twitter. I'm just spamming chat with all these links. You can find us. We're at HereDev, and that didn't work, so I think it's social. Yep. And our blog, a link for our blog is there too. The next episode of Waypoints is in 2 weeks. Same place, same time. So it's twitch.tv/HereDev, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and it is the July the 10th. So not next week, but the week after on Wednesday. Nick, do you have any shameless plugs?
I do not this time. I did push it up to the GitHub in case you didn't see my screen.
It's on GitHub. Let me convert back to. Let me convert back to big head mode. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the only other thing I can bring up is the next episode for AWS Connections. There's a 4-part serverless series, 4 episodes in a row that are tackling serverless with Nick is going to be on it, and Michael Palermo is going to be on it too, and I'll be in the background running it. I don't think. Do you have any other shameless plug? I think that's it.
I think that's it for now.
Lalahan, do you have anything else to say? I secretly gave Lalahan a VIP badge, so.
Oh, all right.
There it is. There's your little diamond. Yep. So that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out and watching us and participating. Make sure to follow our channel so you can get notified for all of our future episodes coming up. Make sure you ring that bell. Make sure that bell is clicked so you can get notifications. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
See ya.